Hello everyone, we are from Group 2 and we are here to present inflectional morphology. Here is the list of our members. Hi, my name is Asardian Indra Rismanto and the last 3 digits of my student number is 148. I will be presenting bound morpheme versus free morpheme. Before we get into bound morpheme and free morpheme, first we need to know what is morpheme. So, morpheme is a part of a word that can alter its meaning. For example, in the word inconceivable, there are 3 different morphemes. The first, the morpheme in, second, the morpheme conceive, and the third, able. In the first morpheme, the morpheme in inconceivable, makes the word negative. Conceive, the second morpheme, is the main morpheme of this word, while the third morpheme, able, gives a context on the word's capabilities. So what is bound morphemes and free morphemes? Well, bound morphemes are morphemes that cannot stand on its own. For example, the morphemes in inconceivable is a bound morpheme because it does not mean anything if it stands on its own. While there is the word in English that is a proposition, the morphemes in inconceivable is not a morpheme that can stand on its own. On the opposite, there are free morphemes, and free morphemes are morphemes that can stand on its own because it has lexical meaning. For example, uh, in the word inconceivable, the morphemes conceive and able is uh, a free morpheme because they both have a lexical meaning outside of inconceivable.
Hello everyone, let me introduce myself. My name is Nuriski Dewi Angelita with student number 036. Here I'm going to be your second presenter which will talk about roots and affixes. So guys, what do you know about root? Root is basically similar with core. Root word is a basic word with no prefix or suffix added to it. Root usually free and can stand alone which still has meaning on it. In a simple term, a root is a complete word that you cannot break down any further. Many of the words we use in our daily language come from a root word, and once you pull off any prefix or suffixes, the root is usually what remains. And I will give you the example. The word egotist has a root word of ego plus the suffix is. And the second example is word acting, has the root word act and ing is merely the suffix. The next, related with previous explanation, now we are going to study about affixes. If root is similar with core, on the other hand, affix is similar with bound. An affix is a word element that can be attached to a root to form a new word or new word form that cannot stand alone. Affix is a group of letters that are basically added to the beginning or at the end of the root word that can change the word meaning. It is occurring as either a prefix or suffix. Affixes are divided into two, which are prefix and suffix. A prefix is a letter of or group of letters attached to the beginning of the word that partly indicates its meaning, including such as anti to means against, co to means with, mis to means wrong or bad, and trans to means across. And the most common prefixes in English are those that express negation, like in the word asexual, in the word incapable, and an in the word unhappy. The next is suffix. A suffix is a letter or group of letters added to the end of the word or root. It's based from serving to make a new word or function. There are two primary types of suffixes in English. There are derivational and inflectional. Now, let's jump to the next point. An inflectional morphemes is a suffix that adds to the word to assign a particular grammatical property to that word, such as its number, mood, tense, or position. However, an inflectional morphology can never change the grammatical category of the word. You can add an inflectional morphology to a verb, noun, adjective, or an adverb without change the grammatical category. And here's the example. The word cat with additional suffix s become cats. It does not change the grammatical category. Both of them still noun. And the second example is the word clean with additional suffix at become cleaned. Both of them still verb. And the next, I'm going to explain about derivational. Derivational morphology is a study of the formation of new words that differ either in syntactic category or in meaning from their basis. A derivational morphology is an affix we add to a word in order to create a new word or a new form of word. Moreover, derivational morphology can either change the meaning or the grammatical category of the word. And here's the example. For the change meaning, we have word leaf. If we add suffix let, it will become leaflet. Leaf, which means daun, and leaflet means selembaran. It definitely changed the meaning. And the next is change the grammatical category. Word help with additional suffix er will change into helper. The grammatical is different. Help is verb, whereas helper is a noun. So, for simple term, inflectional morphemes never change the grammatical category of the word. However, derivational morphemes often change the part of speech and meaning of the word. Okay guys, I think that's all from me. I hope it helped you a lot. Thank you for your nice attention, and the next part going to be explained by my friend. Thank you.
Okay, my name is Tita Mandasari with student number 66, and I will explain about combining from. Combining from is a combination of two words or more to make a new words. Before we discuss about the example of combining from, let's go back to our material before there is a complex words. Two main kind of complex words. One with a single free words. An example, readable, hearing, and enlarge. And the next is one with a single bond word. An example like eatable, audience, clarity. Is it the case that a word can contain no more than one word? Certainly not. In that, such words are very common. They are compound that already mentioned in a connection with Hornsberry morpheme. An example are bookcase, motorbike, and truck driver. The point of mentioning compound against now is that if a complex word can be formed out of two or more free words, it is natural to ask whether a word can contain two or more words. So the next is example. In the word photography, there are photo as root and graphy as root. This is the example of combining from. Other combining from that have more recently acquired their freedom are micro and macro, as in at the macro scale and at the micro level, and retro as applied to music and fashion. The next will be explained by my friends.
Okay, my name is Rohman Budi Santoso with the last student number is 068, and then we are gonna to discuss about the lexicon. Lexeme is a term used in linguistics to refer to the word, a minimal unit of language, and which is a distinct meaning, a semantic value, and often a specific culture concept. Uh, for example, like banana, love, animal, and run. Lexeme can be seen as the basic element of language. Sometimes we call lexeme as the core meaning of word. When someone talking to you some word, you will understand the meaning of the word. Why? Because you have the lexical meaning. You have lexeme in your mind. You have abstract vocabulary item from the word that you have been heard. Sometimes you don't understand what they are talking to you and you don't understand the word. Then you go looking for the word on dictionary. But sometimes you cannot find the word that what are you looking for? For example, to. You will never find in the dictionary because it is the form on the verb to. In the dictionary, it is written as take as the written in the form verb 1. List of words or list of vocabulary in the dictionary that we know is the lexeme. That's why we call it as lexeme as an abstract vocabulary item or dictionary word or the core meaning of word. If a lexeme is an abstract vocabulary item, then we have a word form, a concrete vocabulary item. We can say that the word form is a manifestation of representation of lexeme. Embodiment of word. One word can be realized in various forms. So that's why it is has a physical form of the concept or meaning in spoken writing. Uh, Concrete unit of morphological analysis in linguistics, physical realization of the lexeme in speech or writing. See, sees, saying, saw, seen are 5 different word forms and they belong the same lexeme is see. And then we have a grammatical word, a word that associated with certain morphology syntax property. For example, we have two tenses. The first one is I usually cut the bread on the table. And then we have yesterday I cut the bread in the sink. We have a word cut in the both tense and have same word from the cut. Some word from cut and belong to single verbal. But represent different grammatical word. Similar word from has different grammatical word. The other example is she is reading a book and then they both same books, different word from book and books belonging to a single noun like some books but represent different grammatical. Uh, and the first tension it is a singular entity and the second one is a plural entity. So what kind of relation between lexeme word form and grammatical word? Lexeme is something like a core of word. Lexeme is an abstract vocabulary item and it will be manifested and it will be presented as a word form. And then they bring a different grammatical word or they have their own grammatical word. For example, crown, crowns, crowning, and crowned is this from a same lexeme crown. This is a different form. This is a different word form are manifested by a single lexeme crown. It means that a single lexeme corresponding to different word form bring one paradigm. It is a crown. Moreover, these different word form are marked by distinct grammar. Thus, they are also called as a different grammatical word.
Okay, next slide is about inflectional words. So, inflectional refers to a process of word formation in which items are added to the base form of a word to express grammatical meanings. Okay, next slide is we have forms of verb in inflectional word. There are up to 5 forms for each verb. There are third person singular, past tense, progressive participle, perfect or passive participle, and basic form. So in A, third person singular present tense, we have gives. For example, Mary gives a lecture every year. And B, we have past tense, and then the past tense is give. For example, Mary gave a lecture last week. And then in the C, progressive participle is giving. For example, is Mary is giving a lecture today. And then D, we have perfect or passive participle. For example, is given. And then the sentence is Mary has given a lecture today. The second is the lecture is always given by Mary. And the last, we have basic form is give. For example, Mary may give a lecture. Mary wants to give a lecture. And then Mary and John give a lecture every year. For the form label perfect or passive participle, two examples are given because perfect and passive context can be distinguished clearly. However, it is a peculiarity of English verb morphology that the corresponding forms are always the same. So for the next slide, we have forms of noun. And most countable nouns in English have two word forms, singular and plural. Nouns are one part of speech that change with inflection. A singular noun includes just one noun, and then a plural noun includes more than one that noun. Okay, for the first example, sometimes adding s for the creates the inflection to make a plural noun. Example singular or plural with s, there are first good or goods, and then table and tables, and then tree and trees, and girl and girls. And second is sometimes adding with es to create the inflection to make a plural noun. And then for the example is first fox or foxes, wish, wishes, potatoes, potatoes, and bash with buses. So next slide, we have to the third example. Sometimes the ending is dropped to add is to make a plural noun, and this occurs when the last letter of the past singular form is a y. And for the example, there are first city to be cities, berry, berries, fairy, fairies, and daisy, daisies. And the next is sometimes the inflection is irregular to make a plural noun. And for the example, there are sheep for sheep, mouse, mice, moose, moosh, criterion, criteria, analysis, analysis. And so the next slide, we have forms of adjective. Here is in comparing objects with each other, we may use three different forms of the same adjective. This inflection of adjectives is called the comparison, and the three forms are called degrees of comparison. The degrees of comparison indicate by their form in what degree in intensity the quality described by the adjective exists. Here there are three degrees of comparison. First, the positive degree of comparison is the simplest form of the adjective and has no special ending. It merely describes the quality without expressing or suggesting any comparison. For example, grass is green. So the next is we have the comparative degree is of comparison of an adjective is formed by adding the terminator "er" to the positive degree. It denotes that the quality exists in the object described in a higher degree than in some other object. For example, the grass is greener now than in winter. And last, we have the superlative degree of comparison is formed by adding "as" to the positive degree. It denotes that the quality exists in the highest degree in the object described. For example, the grass is greenest in early summer.
Hello, I'm Cynthia. My last three digits of student number is 058. In this moment, I will explain about determiners. A determiner, also called determinative, abbreviated, is a word, phrase, or affix that occurs together with a noun or noun phrase and serves to express the reference of that noun or noun phrase in the context. So the examples is possessive. There are my, our, your, his, her, its, their. And the ordinals is first, second, third, next, last. For the numerals is 1, 2, 3, 10, 50, 100, 1000. And articles a and the. And the quantifiers much, some, no, any, enough, several, little, all, lot of, plenty of, another. And the last one is predeterminers is all of, what, such, rather, quite, twice, double, both. And the next one is adverbs derived from adjective. Some introductory treatments of English grammar talk as if not just many but all adverbs end in lie. If that were true, it would be an unusual word class, all of its members being derived. In fact, simple or monomorphomic adverbs through fill-in number include some very common words like often, seldom, never, soon, and some other adverbs are morphologically complex without containing lie, such as nowhere, everywhere, today, yesterday. Also, there are common adverbs that are termed by conversion, such as fast, as in the car was driven fast, and hard, as in they worked hard.
So now we move on to modals and pronouns. Modals can, must, may. Their various forms distinguish an unusually small or large range of grammatical words. Instead of the usual verbal maximum of 5 forms, modals distinguish only 2, for example, can, could, or even just one, for example, must. For pronouns itself, pronouns have the most detailed inflectional system in English. Depending on the specific example, they can show distinctions to indicate whether a word is singular or plural. The subject or object of a sentence are singular or plural possessive. Now, for the example here, we have John loves Mary, Mary loves John, or he loves her, she loves him for the inflectional means. Nominative case is he, and for the accusative case is him. The relationship between nominative and accusative is consistently suppletive. For another example is that man's bicycle. The bicycle belonging to that man. The genitive or possessive stands in for apostrophes formed in noun phrases that consist only of a personal pronoun.